My name is Lori Whitmore. I'm 26 years old, and on the day my sister was supposed to marry the man of her dreams, I stood outside a chapel door listening to 200 people celebrate a lie. Inside, violins played softly. Crystal glasses clinked. Guests laughed in pressed suits and silk dresses. My mother was probably crying happy tears. My father was likely shaking hands with people he wanted to impress. My sister, Claire, was somewhere in white satin, smiling at a future she thought was beautiful. And I was in the hallway, shaking so badly I could barely breathe. Because if I opened those doors, I would destroy her wedding. If I didn't, I might destroy her life. That is what no one tells you about truth. Sometimes truth doesn't arrive like justice. Sometimes it arrives like grief. Before I tell you how I walked into that room and shattered everything my family believed, take a second to like this video and subscribe if stories like this mean something to you. And tell me in the comments, have you ever tried to warn someone you loved, only to become the villain for telling the truth? I read every comment. Now, let me take you back. It started years earlier, when I was 20 and still believed doing the right thing would always be rewarded. I was a junior at Portland State University. I had a tiny apartment with peeling paint, 2 mismatched mugs, and a roommate named Juliet. Juliet was funny, bright, messy, and loud until she met Trevor. After that, she became quieter every month. One night, she came home with a bruise blooming under her eye and a story about walking into a cabinet door. I volunteered at Safe Harbor Shelter at the time. Just part-time. Filing paperwork, answering phones, making coffee, and helping women fill out forms. But I had seen enough to know the signs. The constant apologizing. The flinching at sudden sounds. The way her body seemed tense even while sitting still. Trevor was in law school. Clean-cut. Polite. The kind of man parents bragged about. The kind of man who knew how to hurt someone in private and smile in public. When he escalated from insults to choking her, Juliet finally broke. At 2 in the morning, we packed her things into trash bags. I drove her to Safe Harbor myself and stayed through intake. I missed 2 exams the next day. My grades collapsed. My scholarship disappeared. I was placed on academic suspension. When I told my parents why, my mother sighed like I'd spilled milk. "Lori, you are always making other people's problems your own." My father said, "That girl chose him. Focus on yourself." But I couldn't unknow what I knew. And that changed everything. My sister Claire was 3 years older than me and, according to my parents, proof that parenting had worked at least once. Georgetown Law. Top of her class. Sharp, beautiful, ambitious. By 27, she was making more money than I had ever imagined. She wore tailored coats and expensive watches and spoke in calm, precise sentences that made everyone else feel sloppy. I loved her. I also spent most of my life standing in her shadow. At family dinners, my father would ask Claire about mergers, cases, promotions. Then he'd turn to me. "So, still at that shelter?" As if helping abused women was a hobby I'd eventually outgrow. By 24, I was working full-time at Safe Harbor as an intake coordinator. I made enough to survive, not enough to impress anyone. But I was good at the work. I could spot fear in women who said they were fine. I could hear lies hidden inside polished stories. My supervisor, Heidi, once told me, "You notice patterns other people miss." At the time, I thanked her politely. I didn't realize that skill would save my sister. In November 2024, we were having dinner at my parents' house when Claire casually said, "I met someone in Seattle." My mother nearly levitated with excitement. His name was Nathan Reed. Real estate development. Successful. Well-traveled. Very mature, Claire said. That was the first warning sign. Women in love often mistake rehearsed confidence for maturity. 2 weeks later, Nathan came to dinner. He arrived with expensive wine, flowers for my mother, and a firm handshake for my father. He complimented the house. He asked thoughtful questions. He remembered details people had mentioned once. My parents adored him within 15 minutes. I distrusted him within 10. Not because he was rude. Because he was perfect. Real people have rough edges. Awkward pauses. Slight selfishness. Contradictions. Nathan was polished like a sales pitch. When he looked at you, he made you feel chosen. When he laughed, he watched to see if others followed. When Claire spoke, he touched her wrist lightly, possessively, like marking property while pretending affection. No one else saw it. But I did. After dinner, I searched his company online. Reed Property Development Group. Sleek website. Luxury branding. No listed projects. No team photos. No office address beyond a virtual suite. No verifiable history. I felt the same unease I'd felt with Trevor. But unease is hard to explain to people who only respect evidence. So I waited. Months passed. Nathan became a fixture in family life. He sent flowers to my mother. Golfed with my father. Praised Claire publicly. He was strategic enough to never overdo it. At Christmas, my mother whispered in the kitchen, "Why can't you meet someone like Nathan?" I smiled tightly. Because men like Nathan don't look for women like me. They look for assets. Then came July 11th, 2025. A woman walked into Safe Harbor holding the hand of a small boy carrying a stuffed dinosaur. She wore clean clothes, sensible shoes, and the expression of someone trying not to collapse. Her name was Amanda Reed, 32 years old. Elementary school teacher. Married 9 years. Her husband disappeared 4 months earlier after saying he was going to the store. He emptied their joint accounts first. $73,000 gone. Their son Jake hadn't slept through the night since. When Amanda handed me a photo of her husband for our internal records, my stomach turned cold. Nathan Reed smiled back at me from the paper. Same jawline. Same scar above the eyebrow. Same expensive watch. Same man. My sister's boyfriend. Someone else's husband. I checked public records after work. Marriage license active. No divorce filing. No separation record. Nothing. My hands shook so badly I could barely use the keyboard. My sister was dating a married man. Not accidentally. Deliberately. He had abandoned his wife and child, moved to Portland, and reinvented himself. And everyone I loved had invited him in. I met Claire for coffee the next morning. I chose a quiet corner booth. I spoke gently. Claire. Nathan is still legally married. His wife came to my shelter. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oh my God, Lori. I'm serious. Nathan told me about his unstable ex. I stared at her. He said she might try something like this because she can't accept the separation. There is no divorce filing. She refuses to sign. That's not how divorce works. Her face hardened. You don't know everything. I know enough. No, she said quietly. You resent that I'm happy. I felt that sentence land like a slap. Claire. She stood. I'm not doing this with you. And she left. I tried my parents next. I brought documents. Marriage records. Bank transfers Amanda shared. School forms list Nathan as an active parent. My mother listened until she called Nathan on speakerphone. He sounded wounded. Calm. Reasonable. Amanda has struggled mentally since our separation, he said softly. I didn't want to burden Claire with the details. My father looked relieved immediately. My mother is furious at me. After the call, she said, how dare you drag us into private matters you don't understand? I realized then how dangerous charm becomes when people need to believe it. I kept trying for months. Emails. Printed evidence. Private pleas. Warnings. Every time Nathan produced another explanation. A delayed divorce. Financial support. Temporary paperwork. Complicated custody matters. People believe lies when lies protect their hopes. My family wanted a perfect wedding more than they wanted an uncomfortable truth. So they chose him. Again and again. By October, Claire announced their wedding date, March 14, 2026. Spring ceremony. Columbia Gorge Hotel. Elegant guest list. Traditional vows. My mother treated it like a royal event. Then in December, I learned something worse. Nathan had convinced my parents to let him help restructure their investments. He gained authority over accounts worth nearly $3 million. That night I sat in my apartment and cried. Because this wasn't just romance. It was a harvest. He wasn't marrying into my family. He was emptying it. I drove to Seattle in January to find Amanda. She had moved into transitional housing and was rebuilding slowly. When I told her Nathan was about to marry my sister, she covered her mouth and wept. Then she said, "He's doing it again." I asked if she would help stop him. At first, she refused. She was exhausted, protective of Jake, understandably terrified. Then I told her about my parents' money, about Claire, about the next woman after Claire. Amanda looked at her son drawing at the table. Then she said, "Tell me what to do." We built a case. Marriage certificate, tax returns, lease agreements, photos across 9 years, bank withdrawals, texts from the day he vanished, statements from another woman in California he had scammed years earlier. Her name was Michelle Torres. Same pattern. Fast romance, financial trust, disappearance. Nathan wasn't unlucky. He was practiced. I contacted Officer Daniel Reeves, a Portland detective who had worked with Safe Harbor before. He reviewed everything. "Wire fraud looks strong," he said. "Bigamy depends on intent, but if he attempts the ceremony while still married, that helps. What if we confront him there?" He leaned back. "Messy," he said, "but effective." Then my family disinvited me. Officially. My mother called. "You are not welcome at Claire's wedding." "I'm trying to protect her." "No. You're trying to ruin what you couldn't build for yourself." Then she blocked my number. My father blocked me too. So did Claire. In one afternoon, I lost my entire family. Except Grandma Victoria. She called that night and said only one sentence. "I believe you." I cried harder hearing that than I had hearing the insults. Victoria was 89, sharp-eyed, and allergic to nonsense. When I told her the plan, she listened quietly. Then asked, "Will they hate you?" "Yes." "Will you regret silence more?" "Yes." "Then do what must be done." She squeezed my hand. Truth often enters rooms unwelcome. March 14th, 2026. Wedding day. I parked in the back lot at 11:30 a.m. I watched florists unload roses. Guests arrive in luxury cars. My mother glide in wearing blue silk. My father straightened his tie. At 1:58 p.m., Claire stepped from a limousine in a white gown and looked happier than I had ever seen her. My heart broke. I texted Amanda. She replied, "We're here." I found her car under trees behind the hotel. Jake sat in the back seat hugging Rex the dinosaur. Amanda looked pale. "You can still leave," I told her. "No," she whispered. "He left first." We walked together to the chapel doors. Inside, the officiant began. Traditional ceremony. Soft music. Warm laughter. Then came the words Claire had insisted on including. "If anyone knows of any lawful reason these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace." Silence. 1 second. 2. 3. I opened the doors. Sunlight spilled into the chapel. Every head turned. Amanda walked down the aisle holding Jake's hand and a folder of evidence. I followed behind. My mother stood so fast her chair scraped. "Lori." Amanda's voice was steady. "My name is Amanda Reed. And this man cannot marry anyone today, because he is already married to me." The room froze. Claire turned slowly toward Nathan. His face had gone white. "No," Nathan said quickly. "This is harassment." Amanda held up the certificate. King County, Washington. June 30th, 2016. The officiant took it. "Read it." Looked up gravely. Claire stared at Nathan. "You said you were divorced." "I am separated." Amanda laid documents across the altar. Joint taxes filed last year. Shared lease ending March 2025. School forms. Insurance records. Bank withdrawals. Each page was another nail sealing his coffin. Claire's best man, Brian Foster, also a lawyer, reviewed them. Then he looked at Claire and said quietly, "These are real." Nathan's mask cracked. He began talking faster, louder, sloppier. I had seen that moment before with abusers. When control slips, panic appears. Then Jake spoke. Tiny voice. "Hi, Daddy." The whole room turned toward him. "You said you were going to the store." Nathan closed his eyes briefly. Jake looked at Claire. "Are you the new lady?" People started crying. Because adults can lie elegantly. Children destroy lies with one honest sentence. Then my father shouted, "You have a son?" Brian checked something on his phone and swore. He showed my father the screen. Dad's face changed from shock to rage. "How much money did you take?" Nathan stepped backward. "It was an investment." Brian said, $340,000 transferred to an offshore LLC. My mother made a sound I had never heard from her before. A wounded sound. Hotel security moved toward the exits. Nathan bolted. They blocked him. Officer Reeves entered moments later. "Mr. Reed, you are being detained." Nathan pointed at me. "This is her fault." I met his eyes. "No," I said. "It's yours." They took him away. The doors closed. The chapel was silent except for Claire sobbing. Then she turned to me. "You humiliated me. I tried privately for 8 months. You ruined everything. I stopped worse things from happening." She ripped off her veil and threw it. My mother glared at me like I had committed the crime. My father looked shattered. I wanted someone to say thank you. No one did. So I walked out alone. I sat in my car while guests streamed past, whispering. Some stared. One woman told me I should be ashamed. I said nothing, because I was too tired to explain that saving someone and being hated by them can happen in the same hour. That night, I went home to an apartment so quiet it felt underwater. I wrote in my journal. I was right. It doesn't feel like winning. The next week, Nathan was charged federally. More victims surfaced. News outlets picked up the wedding story. Videos went viral. Claire became internet gossip overnight. I hated that for her. My parents learned that most of their money was gone. Some recovered. Most not. And still no one called me. Until Grandma Victoria got sick. Heart failure complications. The family gathered at the hospital. She used what little strength she had to scold all of them. "You chose a stranger over your daughter," she told my parents. "You chose appearances over truth." Then declare. "She loved you enough to let you hate her." That broke something open. 2 days later, my father texted. "You were right. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for minutes before replying. Then we met for coffee. He looked older. Smaller somehow. "We compared you to Claire your whole life," he said. "We taught you that achievement mattered more than character. Then, when character mattered most, we still ignored you." I cried in public for the first time in years. He hugged me before leaving. "I'm sorry for all of it." A week later, Claire emailed. "I've written this 14 times. You were right. I'm still angry about how it happened. I'm humiliated. But I'm alive financially and emotionally because of you. Can we meet?" We met at the same coffee shop where she'd once dismissed me. She wore no makeup. Looked exhausted. "I hate that you were right," she said. "I know. I hate that I chose him over you." "I know that too." Then she started crying. So did I. We talked for an hour. Not to fix everything. Just to begin. My mother took the longest. Pride ages slowly. But one evening at the hospital, standing outside Victoria's room, she finally said, "I cared more about what people would say than what was true." That sentence cost her something. I respected it. She added softly, "I'm sorry I called you a failure." I had waited my whole life to hear that. It didn't erase the wound. But it stopped the bleeding. Victoria stabilized for a while. Long enough to see us all in one room again. She smiled from the bed and said, "There. A family at last. Messy, but honest." She died peacefully 4 months later. The last thing she said to me was, "You chose hard right over easy wrong." I carry that sentence everywhere. Nathan was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. The judge called him a serial predator who weaponized trust. Amanda received restitution. Michelle did too. My parents recovered part of their savings. Claire started therapy. Then I did too. Trauma doesn't disappear just because you were correct. Sometimes being right hurts as much as being wrong. Today, Claire and I meet every Friday for coffee. She jokes that I'm now required to vet every man she dates. I tell her my rates are expensive. My father calls me just to talk. Not compare. Talk. My mother still slips into old habits sometimes, but now I set boundaries. "No," I tell her. "That comment isn't acceptable." And for the first time in my life, She listens more often than she doesn't. As for me, I was promoted at Safe Harbor. Senior advocate. 52,000 a year. Still, less than Claire ever made. But I no longer measure worth that way. I help women rebuild after lies. I know what that costs. I know what that takes. If you've ever been the one person in the room who saw danger while everyone else saw charm. If you've ever been called jealous, bitter, dramatic, crazy. If you've ever chosen truth and lost people because of it. Hear me clearly. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not wrong because others were louder. Sometimes the black sheep is just the one who notices the fire first. Sometimes love means stopping someone who hates you from saving them. Sometimes courage looks like walking into a room where no one wants you and saying the thing no one wants to hear. My name is Lori Whitmore. I'm 26 years old. I was the family disappointment. Then I became the reason my family survived. And if I had to do it all again, I would open those doors every single time.